how I spent a lot of the time trying to convince people that I was one of the good blacks. You know,
Mm.
I would elevate my accent so people couldn't hear that I'm not African American because you're made to believe, or one of the strategies of oppression was that to pit us against one another. So
So sorry about the delay. How are you? Is that your natural hair? What's going on? Oh, how long have you had it natural?
I don't even know. It's been a long, long time. I mean, I've cut it and not cut it, so it's hard to trace. But I guess 2016? Yeah, probably 2016.
I recently cut mine because it was starting to fall out actually. So I'm
Oh,
Tenotro. It's
shame.
so nice to finally meet you. I am so sorry about the delay, but I will not take too much of your time, Miss Businesswoman, on the run, on the go, doing amazing things. So just tell us about yourself. Who are you? For those who aren't familiar with your brand, with your business, like what are you doing and how are you changing the baking game?
So my full name is Sipilele Makakula, but everyone calls me Sips. I am a designer by profession, basically a problem solver. So I did interior architecture in college in the US and spent most of my adult life there. And I came back to Eswatini in 2017, and the hopes was to continue on with the career and do my master's in multidisciplinary design, looking at how to design for mental and physical health. So, because I was always interested in how design can influence how people live. So that's what I've been in my career. And things didn't go as planned, but I was working in a high stress remote job. High stress because it was a combination of the job, and I was also dealing with functional depression, and the late hours and the stress kind of contributed to my gut illness. So I got a gut illness, which meant I got allergic to everything from sugar, lactose, which is in cow's milk, to gluten, which is found in wheat, barley, and rye, and kind of had to relearn how to eat because at the time I was sensitive to everything. So after a series of elimination diets, I figured out what worked for me. But it meant I couldn't have anything as simple as a slice of bread. So I had to figure out how to make bread because everything has wheat in it.
Yeah.
So I've always been a good cook. I can see flavors, if that makes sense.
It does not.
So
Okay.
musicians can see sounds. If you're familiar with NERD and Pharrell, he mentioned it quite a bit. And so anywho, so yeah, I can see flavors. So I've always been good at like mixing things up in the kitchen, but never really baking. But anywho, baking became kind of a therapy at the time. So it helped my healing process, but it also helped me figure out how to create gluten-free food because at the time there were very little options. So once I got a bit familiar with the trade, I heard of the farmers market in Mbabane. And I went there just as an attempt to see if there's other people who have the same problem because I figured it can't just be me. So I got a really positive feedback at the farmers market and met so many people who had the same issue. So that's how Batter Bakes was born. And the ethos of Batter Bakes is it's a pun. So batter is what you mixing up in a bowl to put in the oven to bake. But it's kind of a play on the word better because intrinsically everything that I make at Batter Bakes is made with whole ingredients, all natural, and everything in it is trying to make you feel better with every bite. So you're not just having a quick snack, but it's a snack that's actually nutritious and delicious. So the point of Batter is to bring in a healthier face to all the things that we love. I don't think we need to deprive ourselves, but we do need to be more conscious of the things that we put into our bodies because living with a gut illness, I learned how your immune system is run by your gut. So if you're feeding your body with a lot of things that aren't nutritious or good for it, you're in turn breaking it down slowly. So anything that we can do to fortify ourselves in our bodies is what we should do. So with Basibakes, the goal is to firstly make sure that no one feels left out at the dinner table. Alternatives are always made to be not so tasty and not so well thought out. So if you say, I have a nut allergy and this and that, and I'm diabetic, we can adjust whatever we're offering.
You've talked about the physical adjustments and the physical toll it took on you. What was the mental and emotional toll your condition had on you, having to adjust, having to change everything? Like, how was your mindset at the time and how is it now?
I mean, actually, your specific with gluten, one of the side effects is it can have an effect on your mental health, in terms of you can get really tired, you can feel lethargic, and you can get mood swings from my research. So I did experience that, but I wasn't sure at the time that it was that. And I don't know if you can tell, but like I've been blessed with really good skin.
Yes.
In high school, I used to get maybe 1 or 2 pimples a year, and the most pimples I've ever gotten was the year my father passed away. And once I started having the gut illness, I started getting pimples, just like the year my father passed away. And that was really new to me. I unfortunately don't know what it's like. I mean, luckily don't know what it's like to have those issues, but it did affect my mental health in terms of like fatigue, in terms of like self-confidence, and also just having to relearn how to eat again is really, it can be frustrating, and sometimes you just skip meals because you're like, what do I do? But moving forward, I realized it just opened me up to a whole new world of possibilities, of adaptability. Like I'm seeing food totally differently. For example, one of our offerings is a beetroot red velvet muffin. I didn't know back then that I could make food or bake things out of things that you don't think about. Like a chickpea could become a cookie. So it's really been a blessing in disguise, I guess, because I've really relearned the possibilities of food, and it's also opened me up to healthy eating even more. And yeah, it's really been a good disaster, I should say.
It's great that you can actually see the good in it and have, a positive outlook about it. What do you want people to feel when they buy or eat something from Better Bakes? Like that one emotion you want them to have?
I want them to feel so many things, actually. I want them to, more importantly, I want them to feel the quality. I want them to feel like, wow, I'm biting into something that is out of this world. And then secondly, I want them to feel, I don't know, kind of like a hug, like assurance that, there is something there for them. Be it someone who has never had, I had someone who has never had cake before because they've been allergic for so long. And it just warms my heart to know that people who didn't have options before, they now do. So yeah, I just want people to feel included, to feel good about what they're eating, to feel the richness of the ingredients, and to feel better.
To feel better. So I'm guessing you're very cosmopolitan because you've been exposed to different parts of the world, different people. How has it been adjusting to like life in Swaziland again, or just being a cosmopolitan person in Swaziland? Because I know personally for me, I grew up very what they call Oreo, So when you get into the workplace or you meet new people, you always get those reverse racial slurs. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
This is a packed question. I mean, in terms of the cosmopolitan aspect and coming back, I've always felt like I was in the wrong place living here.
Yes.
Very young.
Late. Yeah.
Very young, I used to tell my parents that I was in exile here and that America was my country. So I don't know, I think television has always played a role in that, because we see America painted as this like land of opportunity and all of these things. And I was lucky enough to go to Waterford Gamhlaba for high school. So that was already a cosmopolitan bubble on its own. There were people from all over the world. You get to see different views, cultures, backgrounds. So that was great and was feeding me in that sense. And it just makes you more open-minded living elsewhere as well. So when I got to the States, my true country, I was in the right place, but you then learn how the wealth in being different, because we always want to fit in, and going to the States kind of showed me how different I was and how it was good to be different. And I guess I've also had an Oreo kind of life because I went to all these private schools, and it kind of pushes you away from your cultural identity because you want to keep speaking English. And going to the States, I'll realize the wealth in being from a different country, that you can speak all these other languages, and it also shows you that you're Black.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, I never really experienced or understood what it was to be Black until I left Swaziland. And I don't know, in light of what's happening right now, I've had time to reflect on a lot of those experiences and realize how I spent a lot of the time trying to convince people that I was one of the good Blacks. You know, I would elevate my accent so people couldn't hear that I'm not African American, because you're made to believe, or one of the strategies of oppression was that to pit us against one another. So yeah, it was a lot of learning and unlearning, and coming back was hard at first, but more than ever, I think I'm happy at my choice to return home. But what I've learned about coming back is that there's so much wealth in the fact that we have so much to work on. So if we all put our heads together and see what the gaps are and see what the problems are and how we can contribute to making it better instead of complaining about how things are terrible, it could create a positive outcome.
That's great, babe. I'm curious, if you had to choose between never baking again or never designing anything again, which one?
That's very tricky. Through baking, I am designing different things, so you can't really escape design. And you know, I said earlier that I see myself as a problem solver, and not so much as I'm a designer, but I see myself more as a problem solver. So in this instance, in this part of my life, baking is how I'm trying to solve a problem. So in everything that you do, if you're problem solving, you're designing. So I'd say I'd continue baking.
And since you've chosen baking, what's the one thing, if you had to bake one last thing forever, like this the last thing you ever had to bake, and you'd be content with your life after that, what would that be?
One thing I've been aiming to learn how to do is make a gluten-free pastry. So if there's one thing I could make before I die, or if that's the last thing I ever have to make, would be a gluten-free croissant.
Oh, yes. I totally have to taste some of your baked goodies soon. You're doing a really amazing job. You're changing the game of baking. I personally never thought it was possible to have a really great treat, but one that's very health conscious and all of that. So big ups to you, and I just wish you so much going forward. Please sign us off with, I don't know, any encouragement you can have to someone who's where you were at when you first got diagnosed, or who's trying to figure out their whole health journey right now. Any words of encouragement just to sign us off?
Firstly, thank you for your words. It's always uplifting to hear that someone sees what you're doing or sees beyond what you're doing. So I really appreciate that. And talking to someone who was in my shoes before, I don't know, this business and this lifestyle has shown me how anything that is negative or seemingly negative there is always a positive way to turn it around. So instead of you thinking that you're losing something by having to change the way you eat and the way you live, think of what you'd be gaining. So by you starting to eat according to your body's needs or what your allergies require, you are one step closer to feeling better again. And a lot of the times you want to eat and have the things that you shouldn't, but you just prolong the process of you feeling awful. So the more you learn, you're opening up your mind to so many amazing, wonderful things that you can eat, and also you're feeling better. I know that we love instant gratification, and then you want to go for that slice of pizza, but just think about how much better you'll feel, and it'll affect the rest of your health too if you start eating according to your allergies. And also, Batabix is here to make sure that you don't have to feel left out. So even if it's for advice or anything, my lines are always open. I'm open to chatting and helping coach people through what it's like and how to come out on the other side. So yeah, even if you can't afford to buy Batabix at the moment, I'm always here to advise. So yeah, come to the better side of life.
Definitely come to the better side of life. Thank you so much, Sips, for your time. I hope you'll have an amazing day. You look great, by the way. I forgot to mention that. You look absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
It's actually the first time I've put on mascara since COVID.
Oh, gosh. Well, enjoy the day in mascara then.
Bye.
Bye.